All right. So now we're back, and where I am at in this textbook is 2-2L. And just sort of a quick kind of review. You got all these queries. This is the last one I did, which was the parameterized query. And what we're trying to get to is the understanding that tables are objects, queries are objects, forms, reports are objects. And what you can do is you can, in theory, open up your your Access database now, or if you've given this to somebody else, they can double click on this thing and it'll say, hey, what two-letter state do they want? You can go PA, case sensitive though, hit enter, and then they get some results. Pretty darn cool. And that was sort of the whole point of this whole section here. And then we took a break, a fairly long break in this case, but we took a break. So let's go ahead and let's see what other stuff, because it's kind of cool. They're going to go. This is sort of, I I don't know why we took a break before this, because this is what I just did, but we're going to head into sort of some calculations and some really kind of cool things you can now do with this product. All right. So here again, I just showed you. You double click, it goes, and you get your little prompt, and everything's great. All right, marvelous. Notice again, if you double click again, actually not double click again. I think. Oh, why do I do this myself? Where are we here? I'm looking for the magic home. Ugh. And here's where I'm gonna lose my mind. Lose my mind. Anyway, um, that's what I want to do. Yeah. I basically wanted to rerun the query. So refreshing, rerun it. If I had actually gone ahead and put lowercase on, lowercase or even mixed case in this case, what we're gonna get is it's going behind the scenes to make it actually case insensitive. But please be careful when it's your turn to do this kind of stuff, because you don't know. You don't know. You don't know. You can't necessarily trust it. All right. Now you guys have switched sides. I love that. That's beautiful. Let's move you over and put you back over here. All right. So let's go now and have a little bit more entertainment here. Next. So what if you want to basically use a number? All right. So what they're doing here is are we going to create a new one? Yeah, we are. So we're going to close the navigation pane. I'm going to basically close this thing for sure. Go create on the ribbon. So it's going to be create, and then we're going to basically create a query. Now, I don't think, we're not going to use the wizard, right? We're going to go into design. So right now we have an empty query, which we can either bring in tables or we can bring in queries. Note these kind of ideas. Pretty neat, right? So in this case, what's the thing? We're going to add tables, the add tables pane, that's that one. And click on closing tables. All right, or closing, sorry. So I just click on this, it shows up right here. You may, when you're working with this, just expand it to sort of see what's going on. If you just double click on this, it means all the fields are going to be basically chosen. In this case, they want us to choose specific ones. Add the tables, click on the closings, add select the table button to add the select table query. Great. Or you can just double click, resize. Great. In the following order. So here we go. Closing ID, closing date, purchasing, the mortgage company ID, and the new loan amount. New loan amount. There it is. All right. So I've got basically four fields that are selected. It says, how do you reorganize them? I think I showed you guys this already, but you can always just sort of highlight and drag around is how you do that. All right. So let's get back to this thing now. So I'm going to run it first of all before we do anything. That's the magic button I was looking for. Okay, it's query design. Go. So if I run it, these are all the closings, but they've decided they want to have a particular closing. That's this guy here, 325,000. So let's go back to design view, and underneath the new loan amount, we can type in the criteria of 325000, and we hit enter. It's numerical, so it won't have the single quotes or double quotes around it. If I run it, now we're just getting these two. Cool. Let's have a quick. I do want to remind you that all this stuff is generating SQL behind the scenes. So if you ever, assuming maybe you don't care about going to the databases, but you really should. And what you should be doing is with every query, no matter what the book is saying, understand what you're looking at here. So this is the data sheet. Really not a lot to show you here other than the actual results. The design view, which is going to have your fields and the tables and things, and then SQL behind the scenes. And what's cool about this is that sometimes it's just easier to change the SQL than to do it through the wizard. So that's why you should kind of be aware of that. It says, do you need to enter the dollar signs, commas, and whatever? And basically, no, because it knows that this is numerical. And to be honest, your data in the database doesn't have dollar signs and commas. This is being put in by Access to make it look cooler. All right, so I'm going to save it. So here's my fabulous query. Save the query. I'm going to go save, and I'm going to give it a name. And now that guy is done. Awesome. Cool. Next, comparisons. So back to this thing. What is the comparison operator in this where clause? It's in fact an equals. It's an equals. So this is actually is looking for equality. There are other choices besides equals. And are you gonna let me see them? I don't think I remember seeing that. Anyway, so you can actually have something like greater than, right? So we're going to create a new query using the closings table. So let's go ahead and let's go create. It's going to be a query. We're not using the wizard. This wizard is really only good for equality queries. So that's why I think going to the design is the way to go here. Oh, by the way, we can shut this guy down too. Let's shut him down. Shut him down. Yes, please. Sure. Can you just shut down now? Why you hung up on me? Don't hang up on me. Okay, you know what? Fine. Beautiful. Okay, good. We're going to want to have the closings table. So let's go to tables and let's pick closings. Double clicking again and again. I just like to see what I'm looking at. So I'm going to expand it. We want closing ID, closing date, and buyer ID. All right. Beautiful. Why not run it? Right? It's not costing you any money. This isn't the cloud. If you actually run it right now, right? Your PC's processing it. Get to know what you're looking at before you just go and follow the textbook. So it's basically saying type this as criteria for the closing date. Now, that is basically saying, hey, I'd like to have a closing date greater than 4/28/27. So let's go back to the design view, closing date, and I can go. So if I didn't have the greater than sign, it would assume equals. This is going to basically assume greater than. Why did I have to type the zero? I forget that. You can just, whatever. And, well, that's interesting. I know Access changed it from this to this. Did it really do it? There it is. Look at that. That's really neat. I don't know why it did that. Why'd you do it? Huh. All right. So there you go. Why is it doing that? It's basically doing this to ensure that this is a date and not a string. In different databases, sometimes I've seen it just show up as a single quote, sometimes double quotes. Access, I guess, has got the whole hash symbol going on. If we run it, so now remember, we're looking for anything after the 28th of April. So we're going to go, and these guys are after the 28th. Now, wonderful. I'm going to take this query and I'm going to save it. Nope, thank you for not helping me out there. Save it, and I'm going to save it. I'm going to go, and now I got myself another query. Awesome, and I'm going to close it. That's probably what I should have done last time. Next, compound queries. So if you look at what's going on here in this query, and we go back and look at the design view, there's really only one thing that it's looking at. It's looking at one column, and that's it. And it's even more obvious when you look at the select statement. There's just one column, and that's it. All right. So what if you want to compare on more than one thing? I don't want to change. No, thank you. All right. So there's going to be ands and ors. So let's look at this. So to use the compound criterion involving ands and ors. So it says create a new query. Sure. You know what? We'll create a new query. Sure. I was tempted to just basically copy and change an existing one, but whatever. We can do this. Closings, they're pretty easy here. And again, expand. All right, so I'm looking at closing ID. I'm looking at closing date. I'm looking at purchasing mortgage company ID and buyer ID field. All right, uh, thank you. There you go. I'm going to run it. It doesn't say to run it, but I would like to run it just to get an idea what I'm looking at. And so we're going to be looking for it where the date is greater than that and where the type is M002. Now that's making me think that I've got the wrong, oh, right here, M002. Okay, good. All right, so let's go and into the data sheet view. So we put the date in with the closing date. Okay, so again, not equals now, it's greater than this. And then we put the restrictions of M002 for For the purchasing ID or whatever. M-002. Okay, notice again, it's not a number, so it's going to assume it's a string, and that's why you get the single quotes there. It's also going to assume equality. I'm going to run this first of all to make sure I get the results, but I also want to show you if I think, I don't know. I don't know, but you know what? I keep doing things to experiment too. Yeah, see, you can go equals if you want, but the equals is assumed. All right, so let's go up and remove the equals. We hit the enter button. And again, let's have a look at the SQL statement. Now notice there's an and. This is now a compound query, right? So that's what's going on there. I'm going to save it. I'm getting so good now at following the textbook rather than just doing my own thing. All right, let's do that. So there's 6. Great. We go on to the next one. What if it's an or? Because this one became an and, right? If you look at it, it's basically this and this. And that's what you're going to also see here. It's going to be this and this. There's a little or over here. Now, what I'm tempted to do, return to the design view. Okay, so good. They're not going to make us recreate another query. So I've got 6 here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to basically take M002. It's going to be basically it's later than April 28th, or it's M2. So, oops, I can go ahead. I'm going to go Control X to cut that out. Control V, select the appropriate place. Control V. So now this is an OR. If I run it, of course, I'm going to get different results. Like for example, this guy, that's the new one. But I also just want to show you this. It's now an or. It's basically this or this, right? So either it's the date or the type. All right, so right click. This is not going to be saved now. I'm going to go save as object. There you go. So now I got that one done. Cool. Stop that. All right, nice. Special criteria. So we got the ands, but there's also betweens and ins. And I'm wondering, I can't remember. I don't think they showed us this, did they? No, they didn't. All right. So you know what I'm going to do? I am going to show you this just so you get an appreciation. So I think if I go to the property state, that's got the closest, I think, to what I want to get. Okay. So let's just go PA. And you know what? I might accidentally be able to expose the other stuff. But okay, so it's property, state query, and then this was property, right, which is basically both of them. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the property state query, and that's a parameter, and I'm going to just get rid of it because this property query here has got kind of what I think I want. In the property query, I'm going to have a quick look at the design view. Yeah, it's straight, dead easy, right? And if we run it, we're basically looking at Pennsylvania and New York. Okay, so my advice when you're doing this kind of stuff is I'm going to make a change to this query to actually become its own thing, even though it didn't tell me to do that. That's what we're going to do. So before I make any changes to the actual query, I'm going to quickly save it as another object. And I'm going to basically save it as properties query using in. Okay, you're going to go because that's the one I'm about to show you is the in. So in here, And the property query is using in. Again, this is not really asked of you, but I'm going to do it just to show it. So there's a state. I can go in the state, thank you, in, and I believe it's going to be PANY. All right, let's just see if I screwed the whole thing up. I did not screw the whole thing up. All right, so what that became, that's a special kind of they're actually called predicates in this world, but anyway, that's a special kind of comparison operator. I can have in a list. I strongly suspect, I don't know, it might not do this, but you know what? Let's just have fun and put the lowercase in there now. Maybe this might be the thing that actually blows the case. I know I'm sure you guys are tired of me trying to figure that out, but I'm just not. No, still doing it. Wow. That's a very, very, very smart database. I tell you, on most of the databases I've worked at, I just would have got an empty set. It would have been basically nothing. So anyway, that's sort of an example of an in. The big thing I want you to pay attention to is using this fancy predicate called in. And the other one, let's see if buyers. Let's just have a look at buyers for a second. Nope, that's pretty boring. I want some numbers. Closing. Okay, so there's a price here that I'm going to focus on. So we're going to make myself another quick query. Again, not really in the book, but whatever. Let's just do this where I'm going to go closings. And what I would like is I'd like the closing ID, closing date, and the selling price. All right, let's run it. And what I want is anything that's between 200,000 and 400,000. All right, 200,000 and 400,000. So that's also, I could basically say something like greater than 200,000 and less than 400,000. But the cooler way to do it is to go between 200,000 and 3 or 400,000. All right. So it's mad at me because why are you mad? Is it because of the parentheses? You might be mad because of the parentheses. Okay, I hear you. I know. Thank you very much. This is where I would much rather do this there. How about that? If I did that. Yeah, okay. So now if I go run, there you go. So pay it like this is sort of almost a throwaway page, but it's one of the more important pages because you can basically get a list. Is it in the list or is your value between? And notice that I use numerics, but you can also go between dates as well. All right. Well, enough of that. I'm just going to get rid of that query because I don't care about it. So we're going to go new. I'm going to get rid of closings. I'm going to just say yes to that, but I'm going to actually delete it so that we're looking like the textbook at this point. And I'm going to get rid of that. All right. So what about sorting? Because right now, when I run the query, first of all, obviously, when I run any of these objects, I'm getting it in the order that they appear in the database. But I can actually start to control the sort order of actual data. So let's have a look at that. And okay, so they want us to go to the seventh query. So here's the seventh query. And I want to go to design view, which is there. So there's design view. There's a little sort option down here. So just about closing ID column heading. Okay, so what do you want me to do here? Click above the closing ID column heading in the grid to select the column. Okay, sure. There. Wonderful. All right. Oh, what are we doing here? Oh, we're clearing the design grid. We're not sorting it. All right. I'm not going to do this, but it's just saying, hey, look, if you want to basically clear everything out, you can highlight this column and do that and then hit the delete button and it'll clear everything. Great. It saddens me a little bit because we were just about to talk about sorting, but okay, wonderful. Moving on. We're going to now sort the actual data. So in this case, we're looking at the design view based on the closings table. All right. Create a new query. Okay. We're going to create a new query. Beautiful. Create a new query. That's you, by the way. New query. And it's going to be closing based on closings. Notice, I think, by the way, can you do this? Yeah. You can also drag from this side too. The book's getting you to pull them from here, but you can also drag them from this side as well. All right, so what I want is I want the closing ID, I want the loan amount, I want the purchasing mortgage ID, and I want the company ID. Oh no, that was it. That was it. Just those three. Okay, good deal. So right now, if I just again, don't just like explore what's going on here. All right, so those are basically that's the data that would be coming out. But now what I want to do is I want to influence the order, and it looks like I want the order to be in the new loan amount field. So the loan amounts, that's not in any particular order. We want to basically change this by going to the new loan amount. We're going to sort it, and the choices are ascending, descending, or not to sort. All right. So what do they want us to do? They want us to be ascending. So if I go ascending and I go, now we have the smallest number at the top, biggest number at the bottom. If I go and I change this thing to descending, because I don't know how familiar you guys are with this, but that's now the biggest number at the top, smallest number at the bottom. Now we're just going to do what the book says and make it back to being ascending. Cool. Oops, nope, don't show the picture. And run the query, display them all in ascending order. Great. Okay. All right. Sure. They're basically saying, hey, look, these two numbers are about the same. I think I can understand why they're about to do that. I know we're coming up to the point that we are going to talk about removing duplicates, and that's where I think it's going there. But anyway, let's go. So now I got myself my eighth query. Let's go next. Yep, there it is, omitting duplicates. All right, so click. So here's the deal. Let's imagine that we want to eliminate duplicates. Now there are no duplicate rows here, but there are duplicate values. So I'm thinking what they're probably going to do. Yep, we're going to be basically removing other things from uh, from the query. So let's just do that. So I'm going to click on this guy and the query itself, go to design view, and I'm going to basically remove everything that is not the loan amount. So if I just follow this mechanically, we're going to get rid of the closing ID. If I don't just like, if I click off of the show and I run it, it looks like I've removed it, but if you think about it, it's still very much inside the query somewhere. So we want to basically remove it. So by doing that, we can click on that column and hit the delete, and now it's gone. We also want to remove this guy as well. Delete, and it's gone, and we run it, and now we got ourselves our data amounts. Cool. Now, back over to the design. So in our query design, what we want to do is go to the properties of the sheet. Is that right? Properties of the sheet. If I click on the properties of the sheet, I'm going to expand this now because actually, I don't have to expand. I want to keep the textbook alive. I think, how about that? There you go. Okay. So everything has got properties, and this query also has properties. And so what it's basically saying is, hey, I can look at the properties, and one of those properties right there is unique values. And if I was to click on unique values and say, I only want unique values, and then run the query, now I've only got unique values. What is that doing? Again, look behind the scenes, but there's actually new stuff that's been added to the query. All right. So this will give me my distinct lists in there. And the reason this is, it was important for us to have removed closing ID, for example, is that now you're getting a distinct combination of this data, right? And because what were they? 325 had C003. This guy had C004. This is the distinct um, rows. If I then basically say, okay, I don't really want closing ID in there, now the distinct rows is basically just one column. So that's basically how you can get rid of some sort of duplicate rows. In this case, it's a duplicate data, right? Is there anything else? Okay, good. Let's move on to next. By the way, did you want me to save that? I Oh, you did. Yep. All right. Again, look at me learning. Save as, save object, save as, go, go. All right, so there's 9. Next, sorting out multiple keys. So right now, I tell you what, let's create a new query quickly and get the closings table in there. So again, create query. And by the way, if you ever want to just cheat because it's looking like it's pretty basic here, you could use the wizard if you wanted to. A simple query and go to closings and then just basically pick the columns of itch you wanted. So you wanted closing ID, closing date, uh, mortgage company ID, and new loan amount. All right. That's it. Yeah. So now I'm just going to go next, next, and then the close. It's not called a closing query. It's going to be called this one. And sometimes it's not a bad deal to use the wizard to kind of get you part of the way there. So if I click on this guy, um, what are you doing there? Why go home and look at the design view? All right, cool. And we can get rid of the property sheet for now. All right. So we want well, by the way, let's look at what we got. So we have some data, and again, it doesn't seem to be it's in the key order, but that's probably just lucky. So I'm going to go ascending for the purchase mortgage ID and the new loan amount. Right. So what they basically want, let's do it one at a time here. We're going to go design view, and I want the mortgage ID thing to be sorted in ascending order. And I'm going to go. And so the mortgage ID, right? Now it's like 1, 2, 2, whatever. This is not in ascending order. They want that in ascending order as well. So let's go to design view and change the closings to be in ascending order as well. All right, so that basically solves that. And I can basically save it. Yeah, so actually it's a really good point. Let's look at the SQL. So in this case, by sorting, I should have shown you this, but it added the order by clause. If I actually remove the sortings, so let's just get rid of them. We're going to go not sorted. We go not sorted. We're going to go. And if I look at the SQL now, there is in fact no order by clause, right? So that should be interesting to you too, as you're trying to sort of learn what a database actually is. If I said one is ascending and one is descending, we're going to see something kind of interesting here. It's going to be sort by this. By default, it's ascending. The descending one has been altered. So now it's basically sorting in descending. So you can certainly sort by some things in ascending order, which is what's happening here. And then this is descending order within ascending order. Okay, actually, let's now put it back to the way it was, though, so it matches the book. There you go. And we're going to run it. And I think in this case, I can just go click on save because I've already saved it. Next. All right, so they're talking about a top values query. These a lot of times in the past, it's who are the top customers, who are top 5 customers, who are the top 3 students, whatever. So let's talk about this now about how we can do this really easily in Access. All right, we're going to return to the design view. If necessary, click on query design. Which query am I using? Am I still using the same? Closing ID, I am still using that. Good deal. So we're good. We're here. We're in the design view. All right. And we're going to be looking at this return here because I can say return the top 5, the top 25, or are you going to just make me do like 2? Yeah. Or the top 2. I go 2. This is going to return the top 2. If I go run, now I have the top 2 closings, right? The SQL starts to get kind of complex now, right? I guess maybe not as it's using the syntax, but another database syntax is that actually can get reasonably complicated. It is actually pretty cool that this is pretty trivial inside of side of Access. All right, so I'm going to take it. I'm going to save this query. So again, File, Save As, and save the object and go. So now it's 11. Awesome. Okay, so far these have all been queries that have had only one object. Only one object. What happens if we want to have more than one object? You can actually join or get information from more than one table. You can get information from a table and at the same time a query and put them together. So we're going to be joining tables is what we're going to be doing. All right. So let's go to here and see the example. So if you determine that you need to join tables in a query, you got to bring fields lists from both tables basically into what they're calling the join line. So let's do this relatively simply first. And before I do this, by the way, let me just see where we are in here. So, oops, nope, 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 nope. Oh, man. I didn't mean to do that. What I wanted to do was we are now to join tables. We're in 2.4. I think I'm going to finish 2.4 and then we'll probably go to another video after that for the rest of it because it's getting kind of long. All right, so here we go. We're going to create a new query and we're going to be basically be pulling in more than one object. So let's go ahead with the new query. So let's go create. We're going to go create. We're going to bring in closings and closings. Thank you. And let's just I'm just going to get rid of add tables for now. Here's my closings table. Obviously, does it say what we're supposed to get? It's not saying what we're going to get, but here's what I'm going to do. It looks like we're going to go closings and then properties. So first of all, let's just look at what the closings table is. Let's refresh our memory. So here we have the closings table. I'm just going to expand for a minute. And you got your key, you got some information. PID, what the heck is PID? PID is probably joining to properties, right? So it's more than I want to get into right now. But here's the deal. We don't have any property information in the closings table because if we did, we'd have to be sticking in the type of property, the street, the city, the state, the postal code. All this information would have to be sitting inside the closings table. Instead, what we've got is we've got one value here that points to a property. And if we want to know the address for a particular closing, we got to bring in the closing and the property and basically say we want this key to point to this key. All right. So we got closings, we got properties. Let's go to the query now, and we got closings. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do here, I'm going to restore you, is now I'm going to bring in the properties table. All right, and you got this magic line that pops up. Now this line, yeah, if I bring in sellers, and I don't bring in properties, there's no connection between sellers and closings. And if you look at it, there doesn't seem to be anything, right? The closing, we don't necessarily know who the seller is. We know who the seller is once we connect properties to this. So the closing ID, and if you ever want to know what this is actually connecting, just double click on this guy. You can see that the closings, where's the key? Left table. Yeah, the closings property ID and the properties property ID have got to basically be the same. We'll talk about that in a minute. Over here, we're saying the seller ID and the property seller ID have to be the same, right? There's a whole bunch of theory here, which if you take a database class, you'll learn more from. All right, so let's add fields. Add tables, expand. Okay, we did that. We got the join line. If you didn't get a join line, by the way, that means that basically there's nothing in common between the two that the database knows about, right? It might be up to you to have to go in there and do the connection. All right, so Okay, so we want closing ID. It looks like we want closing ID. We want closing date, the closing stable, and then the property ID, and the property street, and then the seller ID. So we're getting information from now two tables. See, closings and properties. If you run it, there's our closing information. There's our property information. Okay. This is again one of the reasons why you want to use Access beyond, sorry, yeah, Access beyond Excel. This becomes much harder to do in Excel. So, so the evolution here from Excel to Access is kind of important. All right, so now they're talking about changing the join properties. So in order for me to understand that, let's have a quick look at closings. So closings has got 4 rows. Properties has got these rows, 6, we'll say. And where is the connection here? So I already knew that the connection here was property ID. All right. So I guess what I'd be curious to know are there any properties that don't exist in the closing stable before we go on and look at this? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the numbers for the property ID. And yet we have 5 and 6. These properties never experienced a closing. Okay, I'm hoping that's what they're going to be focusing on. All right, so if I want to have a report right now, this report is showing me only the properties that have closed. That one here. Only the properties that have closed. What if I want to also list properties that haven't closed, right? So what I'd want to do here is I can go into the design view, and first of all, by just double clicking on this, on the line, I get the join condition. And it's saying only include rows where the join fields in both tables are equal. So we're only going to get closings that have properties. If I want to have all closings, even if they don't have properties, I'd click on this button. Logically, that doesn't make sense in this data, right? You can't close on a non-existent property. But you can, however, include all records from properties, even if they don't have closings, because maybe that property hadn't closed. So I'm going to click on OK. I'm going to run the query, and here are my 2 extra properties that have just shown up. There's no closing information. And that is what the whole point of this particular page is about. You can change your queries to be, instead of equal queries, you can have what are called outer joins. And actually, I'm almost nervous to do this, but whatever. This is actually a right join, basically saying we want every property, even if there isn't any closing. If I change this, now I've got myself a left join, meaning I want every closing, even if there isn't a property. And of course, that's no different than really the equijoin. And then if we just said, hey, just show me the equals, it's an inner join where it's only when these are equal. So only when there's data in closings that matches data in properties. Again, that's a whole concept in databases. So have fun with that. Oh, what was I supposed to do, by the way? Did they want me to do an outer join? They wanted me to, yeah, they wanted me to do the properties one. So let's go over here and say I would like to have only the properties. Oh, sorry, properties, even if they don't have anybody in it. And they wanted me to save the query, so I think I'll save it. Done. Next, adding join criteria. Adding criteria to a join. So obviously, what I can do now is I can just simply go in and just like anything, right? I can go ahead and start adding criteria down here. They basically want me to put the date in to the closing date, so I'm going to do that. Cool. And you don't want to save or anything? Oh, nice. They don't want me to save it. They're just using this as a demonstration. But again, notice the SQL statement, right? There's my join condition, joining the things together, and then there's my SQL statement. Cool beans. Let's close. And I don't want to set changes. Cool. Next. And now it's to create a report from the query. Sure. All right. So let's select the closing and properties query it's saying here. And on the ribbon, we can go create and we can go to report. And I think they want the wizard, which is this button here. Here's my wizard. I want to have everybody over. That's this button. I want to go next. I think, yeah, we're good here. We're just going to go next. We're not doing any grouping here. We're just going to go next. Because I've already specified sort order in the query. I don't have to worry about sorting here. So we're going to go next. That is interesting, by the way. By default, tables don't sort. They're just showing up in the data. The order the data is in the database. These guys, these queries, of course, had the ability to sort. And you guys already know that reports can also further sort. We're controlling our sorting through the query, and I would suggest you guys do that as well in real life. Anyway, we don't need to do that. We're going to choose tabular, which is great. We're going to go next. Enter report at the end of, yeah. So just change the title here to report. Cool. I'm going to click on the finish button, and there's my fabulous report. Nice. And now I can just basically close that report. Okay, how to print. Okay, is this the end? Because yeah. Well, no, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, we'll go one more. All right, so how to print. All right, so navigation, we click on the report to select it. Yay, so here he's just done it. Great. And now we just basically go to the backstage, they're calling it here, and you go print, and then you can basically choose what kind of print you're going to do. All right, so that's fine. Wonderful. Okay. By now, certainly in the other courses, other areas of this course or other things, I'm sure you know how to print. We're creating a form. So we've already learned how to create a form on a table, but we can also create a form on a report. All right. And so in this case, we're going to go create a form on a query. We're going to go create. It's going to be a form. It's going to be based on the closing of properties. Oh, I already had that. Sorry. I already had that. That's awesome. So here's my form. Now I'm trying to think, what are they trying to do here? So that's here. Yeah. This is kind of interesting because remember, not all of these fields are going to the same table, right? The seller, I think the property stuff, the bottom three are going to be going to the properties table, and the top two are going to be going to the closings table. So be aware of that. Creating a form on a basic object like a table, pretty straightforward. The more complicated your query is, the more likely it is that you're going to get some complexities in your form that you probably don't want. All right, do you want me to save it? Oh, you do. Okay, sure, I'll save you. Sure, I'll save you. Oh, and this is going to be form. Using the form, you just click on it, and then there's our breakpoint. And I guess I'm supposed to resume later. Yeah, cool. All right, so that's it for this thing. We will be able to finish this chapter in the or this module, I should say, in the next video. But for now, definitely go through, see, experiment around, and I'll see you in the next video.